Happy Halloween, you guys. So in honor of Halloween, because today's Halloween, and I hope you guys have a great time, I'm going to tell you guys a scary story. So here we go. When I was little, very, very, very young, I always experienced paranormal activity, which is why I always knew that I was different. There was always something that I would experience that nobody else was really experiencing, or at least to the extent of to how I would experience it. And when I was very little, like around like 5 to like 7 years old, I saw something that will come back into my life later on when I am like in my 20s, from like my early 20s, from like 22 to like 20, 25. Between that time frame, that thing that I saw comes back into my life. And that's a different story, but I just wanted to tell you guys that. So when I was very little, I would always experience like paranormal activity, and I would see someone sitting in the corner of my bed, or someone standing in the middle of the room in the middle of the night, and nobody else could see this person. But there was one thing that really frightened me. That really, because I had never seen this before. And the crazy thing is a lot of people see this thing all around the world. So one night, I was in my bed, and of course, I was young, so I wanted to sleep in my parents' bed. So I went into their room. And they weren't there because they used to love to gamble. They used to love to gamble, and they'll be at the casino. So I went and I laid in their bed, and I went to sleep in their bed. And I'm sleeping, and all of a sudden I wake up. I don't know why, I just randomly woke up. And when I randomly woke up, I turned to look at the door, and the door opened by itself. There I saw this tall silhouette made out of like just darkness, like a shadow, that was standing on the other side of the door, very tall. Because I remember when I saw it, it was standing like it was about to walk into the room, and I'm staring at it because I uncovered myself a little bit, and I looked at the door, and I'm staring at it, and it's this tall man. All I could see was that he was dressed old school. He looked like a shadow figure, and he was taller than the door. Then he ducks down and walks through the door, and he's very tall. I remember it was this tall man dressed old school, and I've always placed him like this. He was dressed old school, like in a suit, or like it looked like an old school clothing, like from the past, with a top hat. And this man's eyes were glowing red. So I freaked out. And I covered my head with a blanket. I remember I covered myself with the blanket. And then I waited a few seconds, and it was just quiet. And I uncovered myself again. And he was standing next to my bed. This time, when I saw him, he didn't look like how when he looked at the door. This tall man silhouette made out of like a shadow, dressed old school, top hat, red glowing eyes. He didn't look like that. When I saw him this time, from his waist down, it was goat legs. And he had a tail as well. But from the waist up, he was human-like. But all I could see is that he had a really big smile, and his eyes were glowing red, and he had a top hat on. I never really saw his actual face. And I'll never forget it. It was this man, half animal, half human. And I covered myself again, and when I uncovered myself, it was gone. And it does come back into my life later on in the future. But that's a different story. I hope you guys enjoyed my little story. Hope you guys have a great Halloween, and I will never forget that, because I remember I went to school the next day, and my school teacher, my elementary school teacher, she was talking about this entity that looked exactly like the one I had seen. So I'll never forget it, that specific entity, because a lot of people see it around the world. If you see it, or if you've seen it, if you've experienced it, let me know in the comments. And I hope you guys do have a great Halloween.